We can get started. Wow, very on time. This is awesome. It's what working from home does. All right, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Gianna. I run marketing Catch and Release. Thank you all so much for joining, taking time out of your day. We're excited to dive into this very important, timely topic about how our industry is adapting to working in this new world of remote. Just a couple reminders. This is meant to be a very interactive discussion. If you have questions throughout our discussion, go ahead and ask them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom dashboard. There will be time for questions at the end, but feel free to get your questions in the queue as you think of them. And I think that's it. I will now introduce John McAdory of McCann. He's going to be your moderator today. John, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everybody. Hello. Thank you for joining us. And I have to say that seeing y'all out there kind of feels like AICP. And much like AICP, I'm wearing a nice shirt and very good running shorts and sneakers because that's where we are as people these days. So thank you for being a part of this. As producers, we're all hardwired to be amazing problem solvers, and this new remote style of production presents a new challenge for all of us to overcome. And here in the face of all of this massive disruption that we're feeling on a personal and professional level, it's good that we're able to come together as a community and share some best practices on how we're able to move forward and continue making work. For introductions, I'd like to introduce the rest of our panel, and also wanted to say a huge thank you for having me on as moderator. It's been quite the honor. Starting off, we have Chris Ryan, senior colorist from Nice Shoes. Chris has been with Nice Shoes since its inception. He's one of the leaders in the field. When he's not coloring commercials, he's restoring and preserving classic movies for the Criterion Collection. We also have Jennifer Letterman, partner executive producer at Nomad. Jennifer started off as a business manager on the agency side, but quickly moved on to the post-production track. And with more than 20 years experience leading and managing companies, and she's also a current AICP Post Board member. We have Jason Mayo. Jason is the managing director and partner at digital production and post-production studio Bonfire. Jason is also an active member and contributing writer for the Forbes Business Council in New York. We have Annalisa Gooden, you all know as the founder and CEO of Catch&Release. They provide a platform that allows creative teams to curate content from anywhere on the internet and clear and license what they find for commercial use. And last, we have Haley Petro. Haley is the executive creative producer at Sonic Union and oversees all creative production and positioning of the company, including music production, sound design, and podcasting consult. And she has an Emmy-nominated project under her belt. She's also an AICP East board member. And now that we've done our little roll call, I wanted to remind you that our format, as we stated earlier, is a half-hour roundtable discussion. And then we're gonna have a Q&A session at the end. You can put your questions into that Q&A box on your screen at the bottom. And please remember to, write those into the box. We'll answer as many as we can, time permitting. So let's get started. A little question for the group. What are some of the overall challenges, opportunities that we're facing here? And more importantly, how is that related to technology? How is it currently affecting you guys? What kind of capabilities do you have in place?
We should start. Should I start?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. We'll get a hang of this in a little while. Don't worry about it. So essentially, I think, thanks for everybody for joining. That's pretty awesome. And I think the purpose of this is not to just show what we can do, but to show how that relates to you guys on the agency side and how we will work best with you guys during this time of remote. So essentially, I feel like I'm from Nomad, but I'm kind of representing the voice of a lot of post companies of how we are editing right now. Essentially, for edit, I think for us and for most post companies, we took all of our equipment home. I dare any of you to break into Nomad right now. Feel free to take the snacks because that's about all that's left there. So it's pretty much every editor and their assistant editors have their editing systems at home. And we have in place now virtual edit systems where agencies can have sessions with us where they're watching the editor monitor. However, an important point about that is not everybody has that, and that's okay, because it's an expensive thing to have and to maintain. It's not always easy. So a lot of post companies, if they don't have a virtual system, they're working doing postings and then conference calls or Zoom calls. So there's a lot of different ways that we're making it work. John, as far as your question about what tech challenges we have, I think it's important for everybody to keep in mind that with all of our capabilities, we all have restrictions, and we're all at the mercy of all of you guys simultaneously watching Tiger King on the internet, and that therefore slows our abilities down as well as far as uploading and downloading. So I'd say as far as challenges, that's probably the biggest challenge, because we're at the mercy of everybody's home internet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can jump in too. And I agree. First of all, thank you everybody as well for being here. And thanks, John. I just want to clear something up. I see Maciek in the chat already saying I like Motley Crue, which is not true. I just want to let everybody know it's not true.
You like Judas Priest, obviously.
Yeah. So as far as the technology is concerned, you know, so with us, Bonfire, we're a relatively new company. We're less than a year old. But what we did do is we actually built the business model around working remote. So we have this like platform, we call it the Bonfire platform. And the idea was to have a studio, a nice little studio in Flatiron. We can have a core group of people. We have 10, 12 people on staff. And the idea was we use this platform to sign remote artists in and out of the platform. We have the ability to spin up virtual workstations. We render in the cloud with AWS. We use Wasabi for cloud storage. And it was supposed to be very easy and seamless. And that's kind of the way we've been working with artists around the country and abroad. So that was something we were used to, but we definitely weren't assuming that every single person from home was from the office was gonna have to work at home too. You know, producers generally are in the office and connecting with people. So we had to do a lot of what Jen said that they did, which is we took stuff home. We actually happened to have built a brand new server right before all this happened. We have the server up and running. We have a local render farm that's still up and running at the office. We have an IT person that's been keeping that going. But now it's just a mix of making sure all of the staff members are able to manage remote, as well as continue what we were already doing. So it's made it a little bit easier, but you know, there's been some bumps along the ways for sure. You know, it's not the same.
Yeah, we're sort of in a similar setup. I mean, all of our 11 engineers on staff, many of them are musicians. They already had home studio setups, but many people did not. And our IT person also was working with everyone to take equipment home. And now all 11 engineers, all of our producers, assistants, our entire staff is all working remotely now. We have obviously access to the server, and you know, things are moving more slowly, but we found ways to mitigate that as well by you know, either uploading overnight and you know, sort of minimizing access during the day when there's multiple sessions happening. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing.
We didn't bring any equipment home minus the panels we needed. All the artists are working off the Nice Shoes servers. We've been testing something for a while, the ability to use a color system or a flame, editorial system, anything we need, animation. The artist can actually tap into the Nice Shoes server anywhere they are and control the system and then see the feedback back at their house. So we had to send certain things home, like obviously a control surface for a color system. Some of the colorists took home calibrated monitors. I already had my own system at home, so it was a little different situation. But one of the things we ran into is we have multiple disciplines at Nice Shoes, because we don't just do color and finishing. We also have projects that encompass editorial, AR, VR, animation, design, etc. And a number of those projects were going on when this happened. And it was trying to find solutions, because for what a colorist might need, which is they need not only access to high resolution media and you know, stuff that's going to be really clogging the pipeline, but they need to be able to be on a calibrated monitor, and they need to be projecting or streaming a calibrated signal out to the client so they can make judgments, which is one thing. But then on the other side, you have maybe an editor just needs, you know, screen sharing or something like that. They don't really need any kind of color calibration. Then you need our AR and VR guys, they actually need to do their AR, VR work from home, but they have to connect to the servers where all the media is. So it was a challenge, like Jason said at the beginning, getting everyone up and running. Everyone had different things they needed done, but I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. Everything's been going pretty good, been pretty busy. So that's good.
Yeah, for us at Catch&Release, we already operated, I mean, we're an internet platform, so we were already, a lot of our sort of systems and infrastructure are really designed around being remote and sort of sitting on top of other people's infrastructures. So that wasn't a super hard challenge for us. I would say, you know, going fully remote and letting go of our office, our lease was up anyway, so we actually did physically move out of our old space. And we're now, you know, we'll see what going back to an office looks like if we even decide to do that. I don't know. But it was culturally, I think, a transition to not have that sort of physical space. But infrastructurally, I think we're pretty well set up for it. I think what we've seen now on behalf of our clients is just the need for really speed and being able to turn things around really, really fast. So we have done a couple of things for that. One, we launched a self-serve version of our product. So it enables everybody to use it on their own without our service. And then the second is we actually also bolstered up our service capabilities so we could service more people and kind of be in the soup with them more often. So it's sort of kind of an all hands on deck exercise right now. It's been pretty much like day in and day out.
Yeah, John, I was just going to say that, you know, and it applies to probably mostly Haley, Chris, myself, and Jen, but the idea of these remote real-time sessions, which is a little bit less common for animation and visual effects, which is the core of our business. But, you know, we did have to do a flame session that was remote. And I know we actually had a great experience with Nice Shoes with one of their colorists for a client we had to do a remote color session with. So we use Streambox, which makes it really easy. There's like maybe a second latency, but you know, the artist just has the Streambox at home, and then all the client needs to do is download the software, log in, and they have a real-time session where they could see the screen. And just like Nice Shoes did with our session, you know, we start a separate Hangout, Google Hangout or a Zoom, so everybody can kind of sit and just hang out and chat while they're looking at the screen. So that's something that we usually don't have to do, but we've had to do it a few times now. And tell you the truth, we're not used to seeing a lot of clients for visual effects type of stuff. There's a lot of posting involved, but we've had probably more face-to-face in the last 45 days because people just want to see each other and communicate. Yeah. So that's been great for us. You know, you guys might be used to it a little bit more. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something we've been doing a lot of as well, is just trying to do as many face-to-face meetings as we can. And I think we're seeing more of that because it's more important to have everyone together looking at each other than being on a conference call. And in a way, it's kind of nice. So. Definitely.
I mean, for us, it's the nature of what the sessions are, the clients coming in and being with the engineer. So, and culturally for us, I mean, we, you know, we miss each other genuinely. And so it's important to have that FaceTime, whether it's with Zoom or with Skype. And for us, particularly with sessions or sessions with voiceover talent, and from a technical perspective, that has been one of the biggest challenges for us. And I have some specific advice to give for that. Yeah, it's having that FaceTime. I think everyone is craving that now. I mean, that's also part of why doing something like this is really great as well.
I think the hard thing is having a hybrid, like having the fact that that everybody's on the same playing field now. Like everybody has to do this remotely. I think is partly what is making it successful. I think what's hard is having a hybrid. Having some people who work in the office, some people working remotely can be challenging. But now that everybody's kind of in the same boat, I think that's actually kind of unifying and everybody sort of starts rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Timing wise, are we seeing that a lot of people are clients are expecting the same kind of timeline? Or are they understanding stuff? Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love to answer that. And
She's
honestly,
starting to
guys, you know,
twitch.
it's the point of this is obviously, like I said, not to complain, but like, yeah, how do we adapt for this? And just like Annalisa said, that everybody needs everything now because you want your content that's going out to be so pertinent to what is going on. But as we just said, because we are at the mercy of our home systems, things generally do take a little bit longer. So for example, for us, for editing, the assistant editor may get the footage, and you know, just technically it's either we're getting drives sent to the assistant editor's home, or we are having a production company upload footage and we are downloading it. So there's a lot of ways that we're trying to do touchless delivery essentially. And that assistant editor is now no longer in the same office as the editor. So then the editor, you know, the assistant editor gets it up to the server for the editor downloads it. That's a process. They're just not working off of the shared system. And then especially at the end of the project, once it goes through Chris for color, or anybody for color, and it goes through you guys for VFX, then we're dealing with high-res files. And those things were never meant to be sent from somebody's house in New Jersey. They were always meant, our systems at the office are big pipelines that were meant to do not only high-res files, but to do multiple high-res files at once. So keeping that in mind, we have, you know, pipelines. I don't know, how big are they? This big? I don't know. They're big pipelines that we don't have. So the one thing that I will say, as far as John's question about timelines, that I know as post companies we could all use is, we need agencies to start to understand that, yes, we're trying to do it quickly, but the timelines just are different in a remote workflow. And that when we are uploading, oftentimes it's not one spot, it's 80 deliverables. Nothing has changed. So we're still doing the 15 spots plus all of the internet versions, and you know, whether it's for Instagram or Facebook. So if it's 80 deliverables and somebody is like, I need it now, I need it now, I need it now, and we're just at the mercy of how fast we can go, the thing that I would like to caution everybody to is that something then has to give, and we worry that the QC process could give, because in a normal circumstance, we QC every single spot once, twice before it goes up to extreme reach or something. And we don't want to rush the process because we're at the mercy of the technology, of our bandwidth. So as far as agencies, you know, we want to do it, but what we do hope is that instead of 1 day to deliver, we might need 2 days, and that's a reality. And that's what we hope, that an agency could go back to their client and say, okay, we know you need it on the 31st, but it's really not going to happen until the 1st. And the other thing is, something that we've never really asked before, is prioritizing your deliverables. Because when we send 80 deliverables, there's often a great chance that all 80 aren't going up online tomorrow. It's usually that maybe 15 of those are going up online, but the YouTube spots might go up like 4 days later. So maybe instead of us working all night, we can deliver 10 spots today, 10 spots tomorrow. So there's something that we ask for the other end that we may not ask during the normal non-remote workflow, but it's happening a lot. So it's something, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's kind of like the past 4 weeks, it's been a hot topic of how do we maintain it. And what we are doing, and I know all of the other post companies in town too, is we're doing what I know you agencies don't want us to do, but in order to meet the deadlines, we're hiring on more people, we're paying overtime, we've had staff working sometimes 20 hours a day in order to get it done. And I think that's not the spirit of it. I feel like part of this panel is to try to figure out how do we all work together so people aren't like going that crazy, and we will. It's just, is it necessary every single time?
Yeah, I was worried the first 3 weeks, I would say, because I feel like, and we've talked about this previously when we were discussing, but there was like a mad rush for the first few weeks where I always thought that working from home was going to be this amazing thing. So I'm like, all right, I can deal with this. And I would come down to this man cave here at like 8:30 in the morning. I wouldn't go up except for dinner until like 10 o'clock at night, because the first few weeks there were a lot of response ads and people were calling, and a lot of people were pivoting from, you know, live action to a different type of work. And, you know, we were also, I don't know if it applies as much to Chris and Haley and Jen with pitching. You know, we pitch a lot. As a visual effects and animation company, almost every single job that we see, if it's not finishing, is, you know, we have a week to pitch. It's for free. And, you know, we're competing against 3 different companies. So in those first few weeks, we were pitching a few jobs, and it was not as easy as we wanted. Some pitches we had to complete within like 2 days, and it was really a challenge. And, you know, I feel like I'm transparent enough with my clients that I can talk openly with them about, hey, this is going to be really difficult. Can you give me an extra day? Or I don't think we can do this. But you know, that was a real challenge for us in the beginning. I think everything's settling in a little bit more because there's a flow. We have projects here and there. Some projects are ending, but those few weeks, it was like everybody was doing stuff the same way they were doing it times 10. And I had my creative director, you know, one working 24 hours a day and the other one is in Pennsylvania with, you know, his 2 little kids, you know, with his internet. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into consideration with timeline, especially people,
and,
you know.
And to your point, Jason, we did, I fully admit, we all brought it upon ourselves, because what did we do at first? We told all of our clients, all of you guys that are watching, we told all of you, we're fine. We got this. We're working from home. Everything is fine. We all did it. And then when it all hit, we're all like, oh, oh my God. So that for those first couple of weeks, I think for all of us, we're this learning phase. And yes, we're definitely in a groove now for sure. But yeah, we brought it upon ourselves.
I don't know if any of you other guys are having this. Oh, I'm sorry. But just saying that people seem to have lost track of time of day also with this, because I've literally been sitting here on my computer and suddenly I'm getting texts from the producers at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, like, oh, they'd like to make an adjustment to this, or they've just added a pickup shot for this. And I'm
sorry,
like,
that was
so
us.
Yeah, it was, but no, but it's fine. It's almost like I like doing the work, is keep me busy, is keep my mind active. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, what time is it? Who knows what time it is anyway? It's like time of day and day of the week. But I think we also have to try to sort of create some boundaries too.
That's why I'm so happy it's Friday today, right? How great is that?
Is it Friday? Yeah.
Oh wait,
Tuesday?
It's not Friday.
Yeah.
I think timeline for us, you know, I mean, we have the similar issue to everyone. You're at the mercy of the download speed of the internet that whatever engineer is accessible to. The timeline for us has changed on the front end. I mean, we always want to be involved in your productions as early on as possible, but as the sound company, we are the last stop. But what's been very important for us to understand is to have more communication with the producer to make sure that we know what your talent's setup is going to be, whether that's a celebrity talent, whether that is a voiceover talent. Well, I mean, our casting agent is working exclusively with voiceover artists that have home studio capabilities. That being said, some of them may say, yes, I have a microphone. And then if you log into the session and the engineer finds out during your time that that microphone is a Shure 58, which is primarily used for live performance, that is not going to get the best best quality take possible. So we've, you know, through trial and error and understanding how sessions have been going, have some protocol that we like to give to any producer to make sure that they're in communication with their celebrity talent, that they can put us in touch with their celebrity talents team, just so that we can help make sure that once the session is happening, you're not wasting an hour and a half of time making sure that that talent has the right adapter for their computer and is plugged and can actually plug in. We had a session recently where an engineer had to walk celebrity talent through setting up everything on their computer because there wasn't enough communication prior to the session. So we want to help you guys, achieve success with all of your teams while they're in session. So communication as much as possible prior to the session is super, super important.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think Haley makes such a great point, which is kind of for a lot of folks that are maybe usually brought in, or when you think about bringing people in at different stages, like I think we have to reevaluate the entire production timeline. For Catch and Release, oftentimes content that is getting, found and cleared, sometimes people are doing that sort of later and, after they've shot and they've got a bunch of established content already and they need to fill it in. I think we've always seen this kind of move upstream in that process where we've even had, our own motto is like search before you shoot. Like you should be searching first, see what else is out there and then figure out what you need to actually shoot. in this case, now we have agencies that are downloading our tools right away, so that as creative directors are searching the web and editors are searching, they actually are using Catch and Release even prior to knowing what they need to use. So I think everything kind of has to move a little bit upstream and run parallel now, versus I think we just have to reevaluate the traditional production timeline that we've all become accustomed to. And I think that this sense of urgency that we're feeling, like the first 3 weeks, like Jason mentioned, we were calling it, what was it, like 7, 14, 21. We're like, okay, we're in 7, we're in 14, we're in 21. Like we were watching each week massively evolve and change, and that urgency became more and more intense, not just from our own workflow together, all of us as an industry, but clients needing to get their messaging out quickly and not wanting to wait 2 weeks to take their stance on what a response to this would be. So I think that sense of urgency is kind of, it's been an interesting forcing function and driver. I've seen a lot of amazing collaboration and a lot of creative thinking and problem solving happening, but also it's been a lot of work. I mean, it's been 24/7 with not a lot of breaks and boundaries, which isn't even to say the folks that have kids at home who are also having to be simultaneously homeschooled and managing those boundaries has, that's just all compounds. And I think it's led to a lot of empathy. Actually, we've been on customer calls where you can see, the customer's kid in the background, and everybody's like, yeah, it's fine. Your kid's gonna like put their palm in the window of your camera. Like, we all get it. So there's something kind of nice about that too. I feel like it's kind of created a much more of a family dynamic across the barriers between sort of customer, client, vendor have kind of started to dissipate a little bit, which has some nice parts to it too.
Yeah, like we're all in this together vibes.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Definitely feeling a lot of that, and also seeing a lot of everyone's houses and living spaces as we're moving through this period of time is always kind of fun and interesting. How are you guys able to keep the culture and like spirit of all of your companies kind of alive in this? And it's funny because as we get farther and farther into it, you do feel very individual if you're not careful. You feel like you're on your own and you're down, and like you said, I come into my workroom and I'm here for a solid 12 to 14, and that's it. But how are you guys doing your efforts to kind of build your teams and keep your teams motivated?
Yeah.
Like they're part of a bigger thing.
Totally. I feel like it's a two-part question, because it's not just about our individual companies. I think as a community, it's been really important. On one of our, we have AICP calls like 5 days a week, and it's been wonderful. But I think one of the most important things that we have in the post community from day one, I was saying to everybody, is that we all need to take off of our competitor hats right now and all help each other. And this is not the time for one company to be better than the next. This is for one company to lend resources or help out, or what if this person got sick? Then how can I, as an EP, help another company? I think that's paramount right now, not just about individual companies. We all have to band together and help each other and respect each other. So that's company-wide, and I've said it 1,000 times. I think it's so important that we do that in our industry right now. And then the other part is, I do think it's important. We're getting together once a week for a Zoom call, pants optional Zoom call essentially. And next week we're doing a drinking game instead of a Zoom call. But I do think that all of us have to maintain our sense of community, because, in post, we're all used to sitting at the lunch table together and eating and taking that break and that family atmosphere. So I think if we lose that, then we lose the individual sense of what makes us this post-production industry. So I think it's so important that we maintain that somehow.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm a hugger, so it's like I always want to, whenever I see, I'm always hugging people, whether it's clients or people at the office. But the culture is huge, really, because everybody's great. Like the guys at Nice Shoes are awesome, and we'll compete with them now. So there's not a lot that separates us as far as the artists, because we have the greatest artists in the world here, I think, in New York City. So it's really about the people that can be a differentiator for us, when we're pitching these jobs or whatever it is. So how do you keep that tightly knit? For us, like Jen said with the Zoom calls, we said right away that we would do a production call every single day, 5 days a week. So at 9:30, I probably should have made it 10 when I made it, but I made it for 9:30. So every single day at 9:30, the producers and coordinators get on the phone, and then 2 out of those 5 days, it's a staff-wide meeting. So we're literally talking on Zoom every day just to start the day. And it might be a little bit neurotic on my part, but I just want everybody to know what everybody's got their hands into, because I think at this point you really have to over communicate and you have to stay loose. I mean, when we're on those calls, it's fun. You know, I have my dogs, and they're, you know, one of my dogs just screwed up my cord, like, you know, a couple of seconds ago. But you know, I think communicating like that and communicating with clients and taking that extra step, and for managers too, like I'm a manager of people, you know, I'm not a technical guy, I manage people. So I have to check in with people, you know, and I have to say thank you, and I have to say please, and I have to say, hey, how's your family doing? Is everybody okay? You know, I think that's a really big part of what's going on here is, you know, 50% of it has to be try to keep the office running and try to keep everybody inspired, but also, you know, really make an extra effort to check in to sort of make sure everybody's okay. I think that's really important right now.
I totally agree.
Definitely.
I think over communication right now is the key. We used to do all hands meetings as a whole company once a month, and we've changed that to once a week. I have a board of directors. We used to meet quarterly. Now we do calls every 2 weeks. The first second that this all hit, we immediately scheduled as many reach outs to our customers as we could to just check in and see how they were doing and where we could help. I think really it's breaking down those barriers like Jennifer alluded to, right? Like we're all in this together. We all have to help each other. We've got to be available to each other. And in a remote environment, that really means literally just reaching out and scheduling that time, because you're not going to get it passively or organically. You kind of have to seek it out. We even started, it didn't pick up a ton of steam, I don't think, but we had an open Zoom at the office where it would just be always on, and you could just kind of come in and like work from in there, or have a cup of coffee in there, or have your lunch in there. And so I think we're kind of trying to figure that out, or like the drinking games would be really fun too. Like cultural, we started a yoga, weekly yoga class that people can come in. It has an instructor comes and does it. So trying to figure out also how to give people work-life balance in this too. And you almost have to, I think as a company, kind of carve that out specifically and give people permission to do it. Like, you please do step away from your work and spend some time doing what you need to do for this hour, because those boundaries are becoming so much less clear.
Yeah, we have production calls twice a week. We're all on Slack, so we're really in constant communication with each other. The mixers have their own meeting once a week, and production and you know, the engineers work very closely together. And then every Friday we have a standing Zoom date for happy hour, and people can join if they want to. And pretty much like 75% of us show up just because we want to say hi and see each other, which is super important. And same as everyone, just checking in with our clients and our friends and our loved ones within the company to just say, are you okay? Like how can we help during this time?
Yeah.
What is important during this time? And that's been the first ask, really. And as time goes on and you're just going through all of your list of people and contacts, I had sent out several emails this week just saying, are you okay? And I think that it goes such a long way right now, because you know, whether it's your physical health or your mental health, everyone is suffering in some way. So yeah, it's important to stay connected for that purpose.
Yeah, Slack has been huge. I've loved Slack. There's a similar thing called Discord for gaming that I've been using for years as a nerd gamer, but I wanted to use Slack for a long time, and it was hard to convince the team to get away from Google Chat and stuff. And we finally implemented it a while ago, and thank God, because now they're all loving it during this time, because not only can everyone keep in contact with each other, we can have individual project, tabs, we can, upload files, we can share what's going on. but then you can even do goofy things like just a lounge about like what people are cooking for dinner and, you know, what stupid things they're doing and keeping everyone close. So yeah, it's been great. So everyone's really happy with it.
Slack and Frame.io have been saviors
Yeah.
for us. I totally
Yep.
agree with the Slack thing. It's way more community and
Frame.io
organized
too.
than email. Yep.
Oh yeah, it's great. Highly recommend that anyone who hasn't used it yet.
Yeah, it's great. Slack also, we have it with a call feature. So it's sort of,
Yeah.
you know,
We have
Zoom
some producers who love
capability.
that. I don't know why. They seem to love calling me on Slack, and then I have to fumble to try to figure out how to get the audio working.
What is question actually mainly for Annalisa, but for UGC and found footage, with so many spots, you know, coming out of the gate and utilizing so much of it, how are you finding ways to differentiate in this space? Like what's a good way for, you know, what are you seeing people do? Are there any tricks or things?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question. I mean, I think that I think about internet content as a creative medium. So it really can be manipulated in a lot of different kinds of ways. It's a little bit more like working with clay than painting on a blank canvas. You're not building up from scratch. You're kind of whittling down from something that already exists. So it requires kind of a different workflow and a different, where you get creative control happens at different points in the process than in live action production. Mm-hmm. So I think it's been really fascinating to watch a lot of people who maybe had never used the medium before start to become familiar with it and kind of dip their toe in the water and try it out. What I think we saw in the first couple of weeks was just, as one of my clients put it, an emotional land grab. It was all these, everybody was just kind of going to grab what they could to speak to the emotional kind of connection of what was actually happening. And one of the first out the gate was Facebook. And then not too far after that was, I mean, there was a bunch happening at the same time, but Apple then came and then Uber. And it's interesting because you sort of start to see a bit of a template starting to emerge, a creative template on like what kind of shots you need to convey different things in the story. So it's really exciting to see people start to break those templates. I mean, they get created and then broken, and then new ones get created and then they get broken. So it's been kind of cool to see that. I think the diversity in how the medium has been used and where people are stretching it, I think is really interesting. Like, there was one spot we saw a client produce recently where they just chose to load the first half of the spot with no human face, and then the back half of the spot was just all like really up close, highly emotional content. So it was interesting just to see how they could kind of break up a spot that way. So I think a lot of it comes down to really the creative and the brief and what is the problem that somebody is trying to solve creatively. And then the medium of found content and existing footage can really rise to any occasion, depending on what you're looking for. The internet is massive, right? You can do an index on the web just to find professional filmmakers or directors you've probably worked with before who are uploading, shooting, and sharing their own stuff. Or you can index it by raw kind of content of nurses and hospitals taking selfies. I mean, it's such a, and everything in between. I mean, it's as unique as a fingerprint, each individual shot on the web. So it really, I think, comes down to, or is focused by and elevated by what that initial creative idea or ask is.
Yeah. Jen, are you seeing a lot of situations where people are going back to old footage and trying to repurpose it? Is that something that's coming up a lot?
Yeah. There's definitely a shift of, the first week it was revising existing spots to make more accurate, because of course clients are sensitive to large groups and restaurants, because if you were like me and you're watching TV and you see a large group on the street, you're like, wow, how are they doing that? You know, it's like, it is our first instinct right now to be like, oh, but so we're revising spots and to make them more, appropriate right now. And then we've also had a large shift, just like Annalise was saying, we've had, this shoot was canceled, so now we need to do it all stock. So a lot of stock user generated content. And I think, again, because this is to help the industry to like figure out how, I think the important part of this for us is for agencies to not just assume that every edit company has access to those old spots that they want to revise. So that is one of the things that we are working from home, and we do have access to a lot of our stuff, but you have to remember after a certain amount of time, the drive either goes to New Jersey or it goes onto tape in our office, and not every single element goes to tape in our office. And in order for us to access a tape, that means an actual human. There are no robots at this point. So we have to have a human in the office to actually load in that tape. Or somebody from New Jersey ship the drive, which so far not many people have wanted to do, to have somebody go to the storage facility and get it out to us. So what we are saying, and maybe for agencies to best present to their clients before presenting ideas, maybe call your post company before you do that revision to make sure that they actually have access to the files. Our clients have been very flexible with us because there are some projects where we just can't access those files, but we have access to the dailies, or we have access to different things, and we could kind of cobble it together. But again, that's a process that takes time, and it takes kind of some ingenuity on our part, and some limitations as far as time. So we're trying to work with everybody. And I know, again, speaking for all post companies, this has been a thing for all post companies. Some are lucky and have all of their footage onto a server and they can access it for years, and they're very fortunate. I would say most companies, though, do have to figure out, okay, every job that comes up, we figure out how can we, like everybody's nodding, like, yeah, we all have the same thing. Yeah, how do we actually get that footage? And, you know, you have to remember, we can't force somebody to go into the office. It's about how comfortable, you know, we ask our staff a lot, is somebody comfortable going in? We had one project where our flame artist walked a drive over to Chris Ryan's house, you know, and that's how we did the colors. So everything does require a conversation now. And the other thing, sorry, I'm going long, but the other thing that we just encountered really starting yesterday is that shoots are starting to happen again, guys. That's like actually the interesting good news. But what is different is that the post companies are kind of becoming the DITs versus the DITs on the production set and gathering all the footage and then sending it to us in a nice tidy little drive. They're like, so how are you going to get your footage? And so we're now having to talk a lot and come up with processes of, okay, we're going to send you this link, and this person who is home is going to have to learn how to upload to our link. So it's a very different process that doesn't happen immediately. So that's a new challenge as well, as far as re-edits and now finally starting to shoot again as well.
Oh, that's nice to see.
Yeah.
Jason, for you guys, like working in a decentralized fashion as animators, like does that help you? Does that hurt you? Is this something that actually is something you guys can take in stride?
I mean, again, it's something that we were used to because we have this core group of staff, and then everybody else we have a team of like, you know, 400 or 500 remote artists all over the world that we use for different things. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the first few weeks, like we were talking about with the onslaught, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, nobody's shooting. Oh my God, that is scary. The first thing that
Dr. Evil.
The first thing that came to mind. The first thing that came to mind was, oh my God, everybody's going to be pivoting to post and animation, which sounded great to me. I mean, bad circumstances, but would be good for our business, and that's kind of what happened. We have a client that came to us in the very beginning of this with a job that was a live action job. And, you know, it was going to be green screen, and we were going to be doing a lot of comping. And when everything started to get pretty serious, we realized quickly that we weren't going to be able to shoot. So we actually just went to the client and said, what would you guys think about doing this spot as a completely animated spot? And, you know, they went to their client, and we were so collaborative, and they were so collaborative. They even got us in front of the brand themselves to talk about it. And we just kicked it off yesterday. We're doing a 60-second, fully character animated with photoreal environments, and it's going to be beautiful. We were talking about that. It's actually, not only is it a way to tell the story, but it's a different way to tell the story. So, you know, live action would have been great. It would have been great, but we have this opportunity to tell a story from a different perspective with different emotions. And so we've seen a lot of companies pivot, and I know, again, Jen is probably seeing an onslaught of it with the found footage, and you guys with the stock footage, Annalisa. But for us, you know, our animators were always all over the place, so it's okay. And the last thing I just wanted to say, and I hope it continues, because I feel like if one thing changes after this going forward, I hope that Zoom continues, because like we were talking about before, if we work with artists like in Eastern Europe, we have a partner in Eastern Europe that we work with. We almost never talk to them in person, never. Now we're sharing screens with them. We're talking to them on Zoom, every day to just kick stuff off. Our artists know each other and we speak to each other. So I actually see this as a good thing. I hope that this type of stuff continues, because that whole decentralized thing you just mentioned could actually be even stronger with what's going on. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
it helps.
Still thinking about the cat.
Again, how you guys are able to work that way. And I guess a question for the whole group is, how can we, as your clients or agency producers, whichever we want to call ourselves on a given day, how can we help you guys? How can we be more helpful? What can we do to make sure that this process is as smooth as it can be?
For me, get us involved early.
Yeah.
Early. I mean, before you go to the client and suggest, a concept and, a schedule and a budget, and I'm talking to account managers too, just don't be afraid to call us. No strings attached. You don't have to give us the job if you don't want to. Just use us as a resource and ask us questions. Hey, is this possible in this timeline? Hey, what's it going to cost? Is anything different on this end? I'd like to go to my client with this. Do you have any suggestions? Like, I offer my creative directors to creatives at agencies all the time, just to say, if you want to talk to this person, don't worry about it. Just brainstorm. So from my perspective, it's get us involved as early as possible, especially now.
Yeah, because I feel like those timelines have just completely fallen by the wayside. So it's so helpful if we have time to process it and figure out how we're gonna do it, for sure. The other thing, John, I would say is, I guess this is an ugly topic, but somebody has to say it. I think you've probably noticed a lot of agencies are saying that post companies and audio companies and color and graphics, we're all calling about old invoices. And that's a reality as well, as how do you help? I would say to keep in mind that, see everybody on the panel is nodding, but agencies are like, oops. In normal times, we can be pretty lax. We can keep going with the project. We can pay our staff. And then a lot of times we don't necessarily get first 50 until sometimes like when it delivers. And, we could be more lax about it because it's a constant flow that's coming in. But in these times, I would say it would help us to not assume that the color facility, the audio facility is going to be able to cover those costs. So we're all pushing to try to get first 50s, sooner, like, hey, let's start the job because we need those operating costs. So I think that's not an agency problem, but that's an agency communicating to their clients, essentially, of how to best help the process keep going. Because, let's face it, that's important to everybody right now.
Oh my God.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Jason. And then the other thing too is that maybe remembering that all the rules still apply. Just like something Chris said sparked this in me, and that Chris is getting calls of like pickup shot, and I know our company is doing that too, Chris. Like, we're all doing it. It feels like the rules have kind of gone by the wayside a bit. I know when we're delivering a final, we may do like those 80 versions that I mentioned. We may finally work all night, get them up to extreme reach, and only to get a call the next morning to say, hey, you know what, we're going to change that super, or we're going to change the audio on that. So, it's maybe a good time to remember to point out to your clients and maybe give a little more time on the back end to say final still means final, because it is harder now to get 80 spots up and then revise 80 spots. I think I speak for everybody in that as well. Yeah. But I will say that, every post company is so grateful for all of the business right now as to keep our industry. We're all into keeping the industry going right now. So
definitely.
Yeah. So seriously, it's like, please and thank you to everybody.
Yeah. And I agree with Jason as well. Get us involved as early as possible. Communication, there cannot be enough communication. From a technical perspective, there's a lot of unknowns that we're dealing with. The primary way that we are connecting to talents studios is via Source Connect. Source Connect is now inundated in a way that it has never been before. So response time is slightly slower. So we're assuming in certain situations for the worst, And I think in that sense, you have to also communicate those expectations to clients, not just agencies, but brands as well. And so, before I got on the call, I went to all of our mixers and I said, if you could give one piece of advice to all of the producers that are going to join, what would it be? And the first answer was, have patience and understanding, please. And the second was just a sort of checklist of things that you can be doing prior to any sound design or particularly voiceover session, to just make sure that the talent that you're working with, celebrity or otherwise, has the correct equipment. And certainly, we can prompt and gauge that. But it's something that the producer has to sort of wrangle. And the second other important thing for us is, in a normal circumstance, you're in the studio, everybody walks in, they sit down, talent comes in and they're ready to rock and roll. The engineer is kind of running the show. Another very common thing that they all requested was if you have creatives and clients joining on a call, it would be preferable if the agency producer created the invite for that call and invited the engineer to it. We can certainly host that on our end, but we find that it would be easier for the agency to be working on the platform that they're used to speaking to all of their teams on. So if it's Zoom or if it's Skype or if it's Google Hangout, that will sort of help alleviate any technical issues that might happen on that end. So yeah, communication, there cannot be enough of it.
All right. Well, yeah, go ahead, Annalisa.
I don't have anything substantial to add. I think those were all great points. I guess the thing that comes to mind is as agencies and creative and production teams, you are the face to the client. So I would just say, I hope that you guys are finding a lot of optimism and leadership in this moment, and instilling courage in your clients that you are backed by, a whole army of solutions that are ready and able to help. And so I hope that makes you all feel more confident as well in being able to deliver solutions to your clients, and maybe that you guys can be, the great leaders that you are, in helping your clients overcome any gun shyness they may be feeling about the changes in how we're making work today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also, so sometimes, sorry, just to add one more thing. We talked about this today on our production call, and in certain scenarios, every situation right now can be very unique. Especially when, as you mentioned, John, you have a peek into other people's homes at this point, whether that's a celebrity's home or another talent or another engineer. There's just a certain setup that you want to have and create what that expectation is.
Well, great. Thank you. I think probably be good for us to keep all of that in mind as we're educating from the agency side, educating our creatives and clients with what we're learning here. I think it'd be good to kind of take a look at some of these questions. I know we went a little bit long on our roundtable, but we do have a couple here. And I think I'll open this up to Chris. From Josh, do clients prefer reviewing files or reviewing live? What have you seen a lot of?
It's both. I mean, I'm pretty happy with our streaming setup. We're using the same tech we were using for our remote setups with our remote partners around the country. And the only difference is that obviously we're sending it to a client who doesn't have a decoder of some kind. That we're sending it right to their computer or their laptop or their phone. There's some clients who like that. I had clients the other day. I mean, it's weird. I'm doing something and the client is seeing like my gradients and my windows and my mats pop up on their phone, and they're like, "Oh, look, I can see this all on my phone." Like, it's interesting. I don't know why so stunned by that, but it's tech. But some of them just want a posting though. Some don't want to deal with the stream. And we send the postings out. And I know there was some, questions people had about the calibration, because that's the one thing with color that differentiates it from, let's say, editorial or Design maybe a little bit, obviously, because you're dealing with, client colors. But what we try to do is all our artists have a color calibrated monitor at their house, whether it's a flame artist, an editor, an animator, or a colorist. Obviously, color is the most critical thing for a client to see. And we try to get them when we're doing a stream or a posting, even when we were back in the office, to look at it on their phone or, let's say, an iPad, because of the way the screen is, the way the quality is. There's some caveats I usually say to them with that, like make sure your brightness is set about halfway, because a lot of them have the brightness down. Make sure you don't have True Tone on, which is that thing that makes the signal warmer, the picture warmer as the day goes on. But I usually have my phone active with the stream that I'm doing here at my house, so I can see what it looks like, and it looks pretty much dead on when it's on my phone to what I'm looking at my calibrated monitor. And that's what I try to get the clients to do, and they do the same thing. So I know people are asking, like, how do you deal with color calibration with someone with all these different settings and what they have their stuff set up as? Again, if you're looking at it on a phone, it's pretty consistent throughout. There's not many ways you can mess with the phone minus the brightness and, let's say, things like that. You can't mess with the contrast or color. But if you think about it, this is the same issue we're running into in our new world anyway. Like, what are people looking at your final product on anyway? It's not like the old days where everyone had a Sony TV in their house and they were looking at that. Half the audience out there, who are people under 25 are looking at it on their phone only. People are looking at it on a laptop, an iPad. They're looking at it on a bus terminal or something. So it's one of those things where there's so many variants of what people can look at things on anyway. I think if you could look at something that you're currently comfortable with, that you're aware of what it looks like, that's the best thing. And that's how we've been trying to get clients to do it.
Yeah. Question for Jason: have your render farms been affected? Is there a delay there at all? I'm assuming that's a question about the amount of traffic that we're seeing across everybody's broadband connections and through the internet.
Yeah, well, we really only have one render farm at the office. And we did that again. We set up this remote process before we opened it. We based the whole business model around it. So right now we're using AWS, which is an Amazon render service. So we render probably 90% of what we do in the cloud anyway. And it's great because you can control the nodes when you want. You can turn them on and off, and you kind of pay as you go. So it makes it really cost effective as well. Right now we haven't noticed much of a speed difference because it's kind of what we've been doing. Some of the bigger shops might have tons and tons of on-site rendering, and that might be more of an issue because everybody's dialing into the render farm and the server and all that stuff. But for us, we really haven't had much of a problem with that.
Yeah. We've hit our time limit, so I think just wanted to wrap it all up. Basically want to say, thank you to everybody on the panel and all of our participants who've taken the time to attend the seminar. We're doing our best to figure out this new style of working. I hope all of you are learning something from this and learning a new or better practice as we prototype what might be a new way of working for, I don't know how long we're going to need to do it, but at least we're all figuring out the best way forward. And hopefully this will help all of us do a better job. And thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Anyone has any questions, any of my Facebook friends, just send them me direct. I know there was some people that had some technical questions, so I'm free to answer them anytime you guys need. So please hook me up.
We're here.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Stay well.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.